OG. Daily Grind, episode 4. And man, it was a session tonight. Wasn't always highs, there was definitely some lows in there. But we finally did it. As you know, I told you Ruby 2 was 8 games you had to, or 8 bars if you will, you had to go through in order to advance to Ruby 1. So it was a trek and a half, but we did it. We persevered. Like I said, there were some bumps in the road as you look through the journey, the latest games to the earliest, and now we're going back up. There was only really one player in particular that we played a lot, and it just so happens to be the most ratty slash toxic player that I have a back and forth with, but it's definitely a rivalry. Might even exceed that because it gets kind of goofy at times to the point of the player I'm playing against, this Dagger, you know what, sports that you see on there all the time. He almost is so ratty that it's almost unbearable, and I'll explain what I found out too as we look through this. So we kept playing each other, and I noticed 2 different ways that he plays. And at first, I wasn't even thinking about it. I thought maybe he was battling back and forth between like tactics, right? Well, then I realized it was so laggy, and I connected that to the same way he plays when it's laggy. And then I realized something that made me, I'm going to start looking for it on the broader scale of things, that whoever is the home team, right, I guess is the quote unquote host. I have no idea what that means, except for the fact that whenever this player in particular was the home team, the lag was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. The games were a mess, and honestly, those are the few games he beats me. I beat him a vast majority of the time, but the few games he beats me, I'm sure I've gotten him when he was a home team still in the lag. You'll see the highlights for yourself. But I know for a fact the few times he got me, it was just a lag fest, goofy goals, the whole 9, bouncing off the goalie instead of the goalie catching it, ball going through players, just nonsense. And what it made me realize, like I said, I'm going to start watching for it, is I think maybe this lag that I've been speaking of, and that a lot of people have been speaking of, the delay, the lag, whatever you want to call it, might have to do with the connection of whoever the home team is, or the quote-unquote host. I had a player mention that to me too about being the host, and I thought, man, I just connected that all. But I know for a fact that I'm onto something, because whenever he was a home team, he played a completely different formation, completely different style. And once I adapted, I took care of him. I don't know if you looked at the history of that, but he beat me a few times after I had just totally dominated him, at the start of the day. Just game after game, we kept matching. Then we capped off the night much of the same way, including the game that we advanced to Ruby 1, and it was quite a game. You'll see it later on here, but might as well start it off here against Young Dagger. You know what? You see his abbreviation there, kind of explains everything you need to know about him as a player, using the initials he used there when his name has nothing to do with that. Beautiful goal there from Mbappe. Finished that game off with a victory, and right back to Dagger Sports YT. You see the PSN there. If you played this kid, you know what I'm talking about. But it's extremely satisfying when you score and you beat him. Skill-wise, I'm far superior, but he has these ratty ways, and like I said, there's just these laggy games. And he was the only opponent that I noticed that it would go back and forth between being laggy and not, and it was just every single time he was the home team, it had these goofy goals, the goofy plays. Players weren't reacting right. There's a lot of delay, and man, I finally connected it. So I think I'm onto something there. I want you guys to watch for that yourself. If you're the home team, or your opponent who's home team, now check out this free kick, by the way, but check for that. Look at this beauty. Ronaldo and Messi over a free kick. What an iconic photo, by the way. I know it's a video game, but still, wouldn't that be something? Rumors that he might go to Miami, so you never know. We still might see it, but check that out. See if, when you play, if there's a difference between who the host is and the lag you get in game. But Man, I keep scoring those. I wish they would patch them. That particular goal, that near post run, it looked more realistic. It was a great run, great play. But nonetheless, it's just too automatic to finish those near posts. I wish they would patch it. However, it's one of those things, just like these corners. I mean, the only way you're going to compete is if you utilize this stuff. Some of the long switches I stayed away from for a while, but I started doing it just because it's so OP and it gets you out of pressure. You see there, bad touch there by the defender. Kind of felt bad there as that was the game winner. Kind of a goofy through ball. Actually, I don't even think it touched the defender there. I think it went right by him. Back to Dagger Sports here. And we went back and forth. This might have been one he won. I'll be able to tell you pretty quickly. Nope. This is one. Look at that goal. I mean, that's a goal that he scores typically, and I love the celebration after. The only reason I watch is because it's this player in particular, but you see this is going into another game. He's the home team here, so I knew what kind of game it was going to be. I knew how he was going to play based on him being the home team. And that's how I started wrapping him up much easier. I had problems earlier with him, but that was actually a beautiful goal to start it off too, by the way. And of course, he would have a through ball that was accurate. 99% of the time, those through balls, they need to dial them in, but that in particular through ball showed it. Once they dial them in, they can be pretty in this game. It's just they're too inaccurate. You press triangle, you just tap it, and it goes flying 90 yards. We're way out of the player's way typically, but of course that one for him worked perfect. We tied there. Beautiful individual effort from Ronaldo. And then this is the game-leading goal. I showed you a little bit of the build-up here. With him being the home team, with the lag, like I know you can't see it, with the lag, this was quite a feat. It was to go up to Ruby 1. Of course, I had that fire burning because you don't want to lose this type of player. Watch this goal here. Beautiful effort by Messi. It's just brilliant. I mean, he's been quiet for me, more quiet than Mbappe and Ronaldo, but man, can he work. It's just having that 3-star weak foot on the right side, and kind of players just know he's going to the left, just like a 1-foot player. Unfortunately, in this game, it's a little more predictable than Messi is in real life because that 3-star weak foot really is a 3-star weak foot in UFL, so you really got to work the ball to his left. Fortunately, you see there his dribbling's excellent. He's still defendable, though. That's the last thing I was going to say, too, as I advance to Ruby 1. I'm going to start doing player highlights just so there's a player that's expensive and you want to know some things about him. I could try to fill you in that way. Maybe I can stop you from wasting your CP or your money, whichever you're spending, or both. Or maybe there's a player that you're not thinking about that I could shed some light on that's a star player. So either way, I'm going to start doing that. But appreciate you following my journey, and we will continue on next time in Ruby 1. Have a good one.